everyone, and welcome to episode 27 of Not the Worsted Knitting Podcast. My name is Michelle, and I am the knitter and knitwear designer behind meeshyfrazz Knits. If you can see, we have some new additions here. So my friend, she was doing Christmas shopping for her house for like decorations, and she came across a few cat-related items that she got for me because she just couldn't resist. And this is also why she's my best friend, because they were perfect and adorable. So you might see the cats running around and causing some mayhem. This is like a little gift box cat scratcher slash cat bed, but it's got like a little tunnel in it. So Bagel and Tuna are having a really good time with it, as you can see. I also, I've been trying to like get everything in a way to where it's like not totally in the way, but still where you can see them playing. So hopefully that is set up good. So in today's episode, we are talking about a finished object, which you can see that I'm wearing, which is very exciting. And then I just have a couple of small works in progress to chat about as well. I didn't actually make a ton of progress on my other projects because we had a couple days of power outages with, so I'm in Western Washington, and if you are familiar, actually a large portion of the region, we got hit with a really big storm. And while we weren't super affected, our power was out for about 2 days. A little less, it wasn't like a full 2 days, but it was like the evening of one day into the morning of the next day. So I tried to like knit by candlelight, but that didn't really work super well. So I ended up just kind of taking some time off, and we just kind of hung out and enjoyed the lack of power and the lack of like busyness and things. And we just chatted by candlelight, and that was actually quite lovely. So it's nice to kind of disconnect and unwind every once in a while, even if it's because you're forced to. But why don't we go ahead and get started with talking about what I'm wearing? So if you have watched for any length of time, then you are probably already very familiar with what I'm wearing. I am wearing the Robinia Sweater by Ventzel. This is a top-down drop shoulder sweater with a boat neck. And let me see, so the pattern is $8.89 on Ravelry. This pattern originally calls for like 3 yarns held together to make a bulky weight gauge. It's really more of like an extra bulky weight gauge, because I think one of the yarns she uses is bulky, and then she holds a couple more strands with it. I absolutely did not want to bother with having multiple strands for color work. I just didn't want to do it. And I had been eyeing this beautiful Illimani Amelie yarn at my local yarn store. And so I decided to just use this. It is a bulky weight, but unsurprisingly, I didn't quite meet gauge because it's, it's one strand of bulky weight instead of a strand of bulky plus 2 others. So the yarn I used, like I said, Illimani Amelie, and this is in Hunter Green. And then this is Bone. And these are basically, this is blown yarn. The core is silk, and then the fibers that are blown into it, it's mostly baby alpaca, and then there is also a little bit of merino. So it's very soft, it's very fuzzy. It's also very drapey because, you've got silk and alpaca. It still blocks out to where it holds the shape decently well because it is a blown yarn. So you do have a little bit, like you've got that mesh that's holding it together, but it is silk, so it does stretch a little bit. I will say, I don't think this actually changed much in blocking. Like it changed a little bit, but it didn't grow a ton. So the gauge for this, let me see. I think that her recommended gauge was 16 stitches per 4 inches and 23 rows per 4 inches. And my gauge ended up being 18 stitches instead of her 16 per 4 inches. And then interestingly enough, I still met row gauge. So even though my stitch gauge was 2 stitches per 4 inches shorter, my row gauge was spot on. So that did actually help me a little bit in terms of having to do some knitting math for readjusting for the size. Basically, I needed to do some adjusting to get the size of about a size 1, and by doing that I had to knit the size 3. And the pattern is a little bit interesting because the first 3 or maybe even 4 sizes, the upper portion, like the amount of stitches here, is the same, which I found strange. I saw a lot of comments on Ravelry kind of complaining about that. A lot of people did modifications to kind of get a better fit. And I think the whole point was that it's supposed to be a very relaxed, oversized fit. And I guess the idea was that it would just be more oversized if you're smaller. I'm not entirely sure. It might just be the first 3 instead of the first 4. It's been a little bit since I've been at the beginning. But I did find it odd that I kind of expected that each one would have slightly different stitch amounts. So keep that in mind if you're looking into this pattern, that you might need to make some adjustments for your size if you want to customize it at all. Like the Ravelry project pages, there were lots of notes about different modifications people did to get the fit that they wanted. So the only modification I did was just to knit the size 3 to achieve the fit of about a size 1. And that's, it actually came out pretty great. So all in, I think this ended up measuring to be about 40 to 41 inches in circumference. And I have a 34-inch bust. So I am super happy with the fit. I'm super happy with the amount of ease. My big fear when I started this was that I was really conflicted about the size that I wanted because I really loved her blue version and it's got a ton of ease, but she's also very slender. And I have a pear shape, and so I'm always cognizant of not going too big up top, but I also felt like if it was tight, then it wouldn't quite have the same, I don't know, that same really dramatic effect that I wanted and kind of the whole point of me wanting to knit this sweater. So I wanted to find kind of a happy medium. And so I actually think this amount of ease is perfect for me. And then plus add to that these really nice oversized exaggerated sleeves. I think it works really well. So the other modification that I did make, this was kind of an accidental modification, is that the sleeves, once you pick up your sleeves, you are actually supposed to do a series of short rows on the sleeves. And I think that's to give you a little bit more fabric and give them an even more dramatic feel. I completely missed that step when I started. I don't know, when I do sleeves, I kind of just, I quickly read what I need to do, I pick up, and then I kind of just go because I kind of have my own formula for what I like and what I do with sleeves. And so I don't often spend a ton of time reading through that, which maybe I should. I mean, this is a lesson in that. But so I got a couple of repeats in when I realized I was supposed to add short rows, and I didn't feel like going back and doing that. And when I was thinking about it, I was also kind of like, I don't know if that's gonna give me the effect that I want. Like yes, I want an exaggerated sleeve, but I also don't know if I want just a ton of fabric in this area. So I decided to just do the knitting it straight portion, no short rows. And then everything else I did according to pattern. So you just continue to knit it straight until basically about the length that you want. And then you stop the charting work. And then you do one set of decreases, and then you knit a little bit longer, and then you do another set of a little bit more rapid decreases, and then you do your cuff. And I actually think it gives a really beautiful, really dramatic sleeve. I purposely knit these a little bit longer so that even when I'd stretch out, they wouldn't be like here. You know when you finish a sweater and then you put your arms out, and then even when you're not like flexing, they just kind of, they pull to about there, and you're like, man, why is this happening? I feel like I always end up knitting things just a little bit too short because it fits me great when I'm like this, but then as my body moves, I'm like, I really wish this was longer. So being that this was meant to be such a dramatic sweater anyway. I really wanted the nice big long sleeves, and so they hit about at my wrists, a little past my wrists even. Like, I mean, I can easily grab it and kind of have it hold on to it with my hand, and I love that. So it's super cozy. This feels really great. It has enough ease in it to where I feel cozy in it. I don't feel sucked in, but it also doesn't feel so big either. Like, I actually think that this amount of ease was the right call for me. So let me go ahead and stand up so you can see what it looks like. The boat neck is fabulous. I absolutely love the way the boat neck fits. This was another thing that I mentioned, where this pattern actually has short rows in the front and the back, and that is to help shape the shoulders in a way that you actually get a boat neck that's not like creeping up and pulling at your neck. Like, it actually sits, I'm not pulling at it, which is wonderful. If you've watched, was it last episode where I wore my weekender? I think it might have been. And I love that sweater. I love the weekender so much, but that neck is just a little on the tight side. So this boat neck it's fabulous. I really love it. So even with kind of the weird sizing issues that there are in terms of like the numbers and the different fits, like, I don't know if there's a ton of fit options based on your size, but besides that, I'm really happy with this pattern. I'm really happy with the finished object. I think it's just a really beautiful piece. I love the very simple scalloped color work, and with this really beautiful green, I just feel like this is the perfect holiday sweater. So overall, I'm actually very happy with it. And yeah, if you're willing, I would say, when I'm thinking about whether or not I would recommend this pattern, I would say that I would recommend this pattern if you are willing to do a little bit of knitting math. Only because, let's say you even get gauge and you use all the yarns that she's using. I do think, just based on what I saw, based on the project pages that I read in Ravelry, I think if you want a custom fit that's a little bit better than the options that she gives you, I think it's going to be tricky unless you do some math on your own to add a little bit or decrease a little bit, just because those first few sizes, you're not really seeing a difference in stitches. Alternatively, you could go into that knowing, you know, if you want yours a little bit larger or a little bit smaller, maybe go into that trying to get a different gauge so that your gauge will make up for the sizing that you can't get from the pattern, if that makes sense. Just keep in mind that, you know, there's not a ton of size options, and definitely check out the pattern page on Ravelry to see the sizes listed. And then I would check out some of the more helpful project pages, like the ones that have been tagged helpful notes on Ravelry, just to kind of see what modifications people have done. Because I do think that that's really helpful when it comes to kind of trying to decide for this. Okay, sorry, we had a bit of a cat interruption, but as you can see, Bagel is now climbing the box and potentially the tree and who knows what else. So that's my only finished object for today. And then we just have a couple of works in progress. So I have one work in progress that is new that you guys haven't seen yet. Well, you guys have actually technically seen this, but it's been a really long time. Okay, so if you've been watching me for a while, then you will be familiar with my Siroc sock pattern. And not just that, you will know that this self-striping sock yarn version, this was my muse. This was my first sample. The whole point in me making this pattern was because I had leftover Christmas Advent self-striping sock yarn. I had done a pair of vanilla socks when I got my Advent yarn last Christmas. And if you're not familiar with Advent yarn, there's actually a few different types of yarn Advents that you can do. You can do a yarn advent where it's just a whole bunch of minis, and each day you open up a new mini skein, and then by the end of the month you've got like, I think you get like 20, I don't know, you get a few, because you get one big skein and then you get like 24 mini skeins or something like that for the days of Christmas. And then if you don't want like a ton of mini skeins, another option you can do is actually getting an advent self-striping sock yarn. And that's what I did. And basically you can kind of see the swirl in there of the different colors. And the whole point of that is that you can blindly wind it up, and then each day you just knit one stripe. And so each day it's kind of a surprise as into what color you're gonna get. I mean, you're gonna know what your color for tomorrow is gonna be because the color is gonna change and then you're gonna stop. But basically you kind of get a surprise each day of what the next color is going to be for the next day. And I really liked that idea because it's the idea that you can just take, you know, an hour every morning, make yourself a cup of coffee, and especially for Christmas, my routine was I'd make my coffee, I'd go sit in my office on my knitting chair, and this is just part of normal life, by the way. Anyway, so my routine was that I would make a cup of coffee, I would go into my office and sit on my knitting chair, and I would watch Vlogmas episodes. I absolutely love watching Vlogmas episodes, especially just to kind of like get a little bit of a day in the life of, as well as them chatting about what they're working on. And so I would do that, and I would knit up a stripe for each sock. I would do them 2 at a time. That way, when I'm not writing a pattern, I always knit my socks 2 at a time, just so I'll get them done, you know, and not have the second sock lingering for how many months now? So I did that last Christmas, and I just ended up doing vanilla socks with those. Wow, Bagel he just climbed the tree. Yeah, wow. I mean, I'd be lying if I said it was the first time he's done that. I don't know if you can even still see him in there. Yeah, but he's in there somewhere. Yep, there he is. There he is. So luckily, Bagel only weighs like 7.5 pounds. So he can climb the tree and it's not dire most of the time. If Tuna tried to do this, Tuna is like 3 times his size. I'm pretty sure if Tuna tried to do this, he would knock the tree down. So yeah, I don't know if you can still see him, so we're gonna just kind of tilt that back a little bit. This is going to be yet another cat chaos episode. I shouldn't be surprised. So where was I? Oh my God, they have gotten me so distracted. I legitimately don't even know what I was talking about. Okay, well, we're just gonna move on. Okay, so I think I'm dropping stuff now. All right, so I think what I was saying was that, so I had knit myself a pair of vanilla socks last Christmas just because I ended up finding out, let me see if I can find, I don't even have the tag, but I'm gonna try and make this make sense. So the yarn I ordered last year it's by the Cozy Knitter, and it's the 2023 self-striping advent sock or something like that. And what I found out once I ordered it, because it's always a surprise when you order it, you don't know what colors it's going to be, you don't really know how it's going to knit up. And what she announced basically once you got the yarn was that it was more of a fade than like actual very bold stripes. And if I'm being honest, I was actually a little bummed about that because I really wanted the defined stripes. So because of that, I wasn't really sure how it was going to look. So I just knit a vanilla pair of socks, and I don't have them with me right now, but I will pop up a photo so you can see. They're actually in my little laundry hamper to be I have like a separate sock laundry hamper for my to be hand washed. Yeah, it basically, so I ended up knitting those, the vanilla pair, and I had this all left over, and I really wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. So it just sat for a while, and then over the summer, I just realized that if I wanted to order another Christmas yarn, I didn't really want to still have this on hand. And then also like, what am I going to do with this? Like it's such a specific yarn to use that I really wanted to find a good use for it. So I'm going to tilt back because I'm feeling weird that I'm not centered. Okay, that's better. The cats have gone away. I don't know where they are now. I'm sure they'll be back to cause more trouble. So this is how the Siroc sock pattern came about. I wanted something to where you could still have some fun with a self-striping yarn, but maybe play off of it in a way that wasn't distracting. And so I chose to do, these are basically 1/2 left and right cables, and it's just like slip stitch cables. It's very, very simple. And what I wanted to do was play off the verticality. So, you know, you've got all the horizontal stripes from the self-striping yarn. And then I just loved the idea of having this kind of vertical, almost arrow shape that just very subtly shows through the pattern. And I feel like it does it in such a nice way to where it's extremely subtle. It doesn't feel messy. Like what I really didn't want was something where you've just got like stripes everywhere and pattern everywhere and there's a ton going on. I really wanted it to still feel clean and very subtle. And I think this really achieved that. So I had so much fun with this that I ended up doing 2 more versions. I did a speckled version and I did a solid/tonal version, just because I really wanted to see how the pattern would look in other types of yarn. You don't normally see a lot of sock patterns that are meant for wild and crazy yarn. Like normally you'll either have like colorwork sock patterns where it has a very specific idea of the kind of yarn you're using, or you've got, you know, cabled socks that are meant to be on more of like a solid or tonal yarn. And so I just loved the idea that these would work really well with a texture and also with like wild and crazy yarns. So, so yeah, I did the speckled version, I did the tonal version. I ended up finishing both pairs for both of those, which left this guy completely alone because I had only done the 1 pair. I made some modifications after the fact. Like, you'll see that this one has a 1x1 rib. I ended up doing, in the later versions, I did a 2x2 rib that plays off of the cabling, so the lines kind of go together, which I didn't do here. And then I also made some adjustments in terms of sizing because I realized that you weren't going to get the right amount of cables to hit right at the heel for all sizes. It would only work for 2 out of the 4 sizes, so that I needed to do some adjusting with the numbers to make that work so that all 4 sizes could achieve that same look. So anyway, like there are other videos that chat more about this. I'm not gonna, I mean, I've already kind of talked for a bit about this, but I won't talk more about that. So this ended up being kind of the test sample. So even though this was my muse and this was the whole point of me creating this pattern, what ended up happening was this guy just sat. And then I knit the other 2, and then I moved on to other things because at that point I had knit collectively 5 Siroc socks and I didn't want to do another one. So this sat for a while, and now that, you know, it's mid to end of November and we're getting close to the holidays again, and I'm thinking about, you know, my holiday socks for this year, I figured I should at least finish this up before that. So I finally am picking this guy back up. As you can see, I've already added in the row for my afterthought heel. And I know I always call it an afterthought heel because it's kind of like the go-to. Technically though, I think this is a forethought heel because you're planning it out ahead of time by putting in the row of waste yarn, and a technical like actual afterthought heel is when you cut in and place it. So it doesn't really matter, you know, most people just call it an afterthought heel, and I know that that's kind of the easiest way to keep track of it, but you know, if we want to be technical here. So anyway, yeah, so I am just a few chart repeats past the heel, so obviously we've got a ways to go. I would say that means I am about here on the sock. So I've got a bit of the foot left to do. And the other nice thing too is that I'm just using the self-striping yarn all the way from the cuff through to the toe. The only place where I didn't use that was for the heel, because I just thought an actual solid color in the heel made the most sense. And so what I'm using, I don't even have a tag for this, and I'm not entirely sure. I believe that this is a leftover scrap from Knitted Wit. I can't tell you what the yarn color is. I don't know anymore. I can't remember. But it's kind of like a nice marigold, and I actually thought it worked really well, especially with kind of playing off of the cuff. So this is moving along really nicely. I don't think it'll take me too much longer. And so I'm enjoying this, especially, this is actually a really fun pattern to knit up, just because most of the rows you're just knitting or slipping stitches. And then every 6th row, you actually do the cables. And then it gets even quicker once you do, once you add in your heel, because obviously you're not doing that cable pattern on the foot, on the bottom of the foot, because you wouldn't want to step on that. That would be terrible. Which means that you're only doing the cabling on the top of the foot, which is the top half of the sock. So it just moves really, really fast. It's like the next step up from a vanilla sock. So I think this is a really good one if you are still a little bit nervous about venturing into cables. This is like baby cables. This is like very beginner cable sock knitting. So I really enjoy this, and it works up really fast, and it's one of those things where you're like, okay, just a few more and then I get to the next stripe. This is another reason why I really enjoy doing it on self-striping yarn, is because, you know, it's very motivating to get to the next stripe. And the way this is working out, it's actually like the next stripe ends up hitting with like the first row of the slip stitches, and so then you kind of get that color on top of the new color as it stretches over the cable. And so I'm really enjoying this. And so these will be really nice to have. My goal is to have these done, it would be nice to have them done before December so that I can actually wear them while I start knitting my next pair of Christmas socks. But we'll see. Oh, and one other thing, we're very much going with a theme here today. This is being housed in, honestly, I think this is my favorite knitting bag. Like, legitimately, I love this bag so much. This is a bag that I bought. I found it randomly. I was at a yarn store. I was not shopping for project bags. And I just happened to see this on the table, and so I bought it right before Christmas last year, so it was probably about a year ago. And I used this for my Advent socks last year, and it's like the perfect holiday sock bag. So I'm using them for my Advent socks this year, and I'll probably use them for my other Christmas socks as they come. But this bag, and look, it's got like buffalo plaid on the inside with the zipper. This is by Half Calf Crochet. And I believe that's her handle for both Instagram and her Etsy shop. So I will write that down below. Just a really, really nice bag. It's a really nice quality. Like, it's really thick. The fabric is really nice. And I just think it's really cute. It has a little, you can attach other smaller bags here if you want, which I thought about doing that, but then I just kind of forgot. But I do kind of love that you could just attach other things here if you wanted. So that is a really great, super cute holiday bag. Okay, and then next up, what I'm going to be talking about are Christmas presents. So Thomas, if you are watching, now is your time to leave. This is your official warning. You have to exit out of this video now. Bye. Okay, I think, can you see Tuna? Is Tuna in there? Somewhere. Yeah, he's just laying under there. Okay, well, that's fine. You'll just get a little bit of tuna butt. Okay, so now that we have had some time to make sure that Thomas has exited his video, we will chat about my other project that is also in my other holiday bag. This, I've shown this before, but this is from Kitsch is the New Black on Etsy. I actually just double checked because I know I've talked about her bags a lot, and it looks like her shop is not closed, she's just on a break. So I saw she had just done an update on November 4th that she's fulfilling orders and that she'll be back soon. So I don't know when she's going to be back, but I am just relieved that she's not closed because her bags are phenomenal. So keep an eye out for her. Anyway, what is housed in that bag? This is going to seem like absolutely no progress to you. Hold on, dropping stitches. There's so many stitches on these needles that like I touch this and the stitches go flying off. Okay, so the pizza socks, and this is my Christmas present for Thomas. Yeah, these probably look exactly the same to you, although I promise I actually have done work on them. So last time, you might remember, I was talking about how I was working through the color work, and the color work it's just a chart that I made. Nothing special. It's not going to be a pattern or anything like that, because it's actually a giant pain because it's all 3 colors on pretty much every row. And that means that the tension is tough. It's really tough to keep the tension on here because like I'm basically catching floats all the time. And so that means, let me see if I can show you. Yeah, I mean, it looks like chaos back here. Like that just looks insane. And I'm trying really, really hard to keep as much tension. Like I'm stretching out the stitches every couple of stitches that I do, and I'm taking my time to make sure I'm catching all floats so I don't have floats longer than 5 stitches. And that just means that it's very slow progress, and on top of that, even with you maintaining a good tension, it still gets a little bit tight. And so I had knit up almost the entire pizza motif, and I was looking at it, and even though I know part of it is just that the needles are very small for the amount of stitches I have on here, because I do have 80 stitches, I couldn't move the pizza slices. Like it was just, I was tugging and they just looked really tight. And I was starting to get really worried that one, he wouldn't be able to get it over his foot, and 2, it was just gonna be like this really stiff piece of fabric. So after doing all of that, I ripped all the way back and I started the pizza slices over, and I bumped up to a US 2 or a 2.75 millimeter needle just for the pizza slices. So that means that this sock will be using 3 different needle sizes. So I did 72 stitches for the cuff, and I knit that in US 1, which is a 1.5, no, a US 1 is a 2.25 millimeter needle. And then once I got to the stockinette round, I did a make one right every 9 stitches to go up to 80 stitches so that it will better fit Thomas's foot, since it's color work and your tension automatically gets a little tighter with color work. And on top of that, when I increased and went to the stockinette, I also moved to the US 1.5 needle, which is a 2.5 millimeter. And that is normally good enough for me to do for color work socks, just bump up to that next size needle. But just, I don't know, with these pizza slices it's just, I'm picking up floats constantly, and the tension is really tight. So I really think it's necessary to bump up an extra needle size. And it is making a difference. Like, I don't know how well you can actually see because they are kind of bunched up, but when I pull, you can actually pull now and you can see the motif, and it's not still puckering in a weird way. So I feel like this was the right call. And yeah, all I can say is that I'm really looking forward to being done with the pizza motif. So if you haven't watched the last episode, these are just supposed to be really fun socks for Thomas because he loves pizza's like his happy food. And so these are just pizza and breadsticks. So we've got a row of breadsticks here, well, a section of breadsticks, and then we'll have the pizza slices, which are up and down. And then we'll have another thing of breadsticks, and then I will do the heel and the foot. And I think I think for the foot, I'm gonna do some sort of a rib or broken rib or some sort of texture, I think, especially just because we'll be at 80 stitches, and so I think having some sort of a ribbing will help cinch it in a little bit, just because I don't really want to do decreases in the foot. I'd rather him have a bit of a roomier sock, but I think that doing some sort of a ribbing would be the way to go, so that it's still gonna fit nicely. And I was debating maybe doing another thing of pizza slices on the toe, and I have now decided that that is absolutely not going to happen. So I might just do like a little section of breadsticks and then go to the toe decreases. But I haven't decided yet, so we'll see how it goes. So that means that let me see, I've got 6 more rows of pizza to do. Really like 5, yeah, no, 6. So I've got 6 more rows of the pizza to do, and then these will move quickly again. It's also tricky because I can only work on these when Thomas isn't home or around. And I was supposed to go out for a knit night this past week, but that also coincided with the big storm that we had with the power outage and all of that, so that didn't happen. So these have just been kind of sitting, not getting a lot of work done. And so it's gonna be small moments where I can make progress on these guys, but it's happening. So that is my progress on Thomas's pizza socks, and hopefully, I'm hoping that I will actually have more progress for you on those soon. I think next week I might actually go ahead and do my like cozy sweater roundup, because it feels, I don't know, it feels like cozy sweater weather, but also I think because I finished this cozy sweater, I'm just thinking about all my big cozy sweaters. So, and that one I'll actually do like a full modeled B-roll shot of this as well. So that'll probably be coming next week. And then I guess I can chat about some of the acquisitions that I have that are not knitting related at all. But so speaking of my best friend who got me these fun little cat items because she was shopping and thought of me, she also, oh my God, you guys, she got these little cat ornaments that look like bagel and tuna, which, I mean, come on. How cute are these? They're so freaking cute. So she got me these, and then also she found this cat Christmas light mug, which, I mean, if this isn't the most perfect thing you've ever seen for me, especially lately with my trim the tree stuff and like my obsession with Christmas lights and cats, like this couldn't be a more perfect gift. So I will absolutely be using this all through the holidays, and I'm so thrilled about that. So thank you, Kate. Let's see. Also, yeah, I'm hoping to cast on for another sweater soon. I'm actually just like not sure what to knit. I've hit a point where I've knocked out a ton of projects in the last couple of weeks, and it's feeling really good. So last week I mentioned to you that I was wrapping up the summer tea design, and that is officially with my tech editor now, and I am so excited about that. Feeling really good about that. We're checking a few numbers just to kind of make sure. There were some things that, you know, when I was working with that specific yarn, the yarn actually is a little bit heavier and drapier, and so I wanted to make sure that there would still be a good amount of fit for the way that that yarn would drape. And so I just have her kind of double checking that. Like I'm happy with my sample and how that looks, but I want her to check all of my numbers and just make sure that that kind of makes sense throughout. So I'm really hoping that that's going to come back okay. But it's okay if not, because I don't even think we're gonna go into testing until like January. So it's really, we've got time if we need to make some adjustments. So that is good, and that's done. I do have a couple other designs that I'm already starting to think about for next year. I don't know if I can talk too much about one of them. It's another kind of secret one right now. But then there will be another summer top design that I'm kind of thinking through right now. I've got a bunch of different ideas, and I'm just trying to figure out which one most makes sense for the yarn that I will be using. And so I'll chat more about that as that comes. That summer top I actually will be able to share and talk about as I'm working through it. And I think it'll be nice to be able to share about that, because it's tough when I've got these secret projects where it's like, it may not look like I've been working on much, but I actually have been behind the scenes. I just can't show it. So it'll be nice to share that one, even if I'm showing you, you know, the construction of a summer top in January. It's fine. But additionally, I'm thinking of other patterns that I can maybe cast on for the winter. I've got that really nice red DK weight yarn that I really want to use, and I have not been able to figure out a pattern. I kind of want to do texture, but I also don't have enough yardage to do like tons of cable work or brioche. Because I was thinking a brioche sweater would be perfect, but the ones I was looking at, I just don't think I'll have enough yardage. So I'm still trying to figure out what to do with that, but maybe in my next normal podcast episode, I'll have that going. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. So yeah, that really does it for me in terms of knitting chat and acquisitions. The only other thing to chat about would be book updates, which not much on that front either. So I am still reading Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. And I actually didn't even check. I must be about halfway through now. I mean, it's fine. I wouldn't say that I'm loving it, but I'm also not hating it. I would say that it's definitely a bit slow. But I will also say that, you know, the ACOTAR series, that first book was incredibly slow and not my favorite. So I'm going in, you know, expecting that and knowing that this one might be a little bit slow until we get into the meat of whatever the story is going to be. So, yeah, that's kind of it for my reading progress. And yeah, I'll keep you posted as I finish that up and see if I enjoy it enough to read the rest of the series. So if you stuck around to the end, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you would like to get in touch with me, I am meeshyfrazz on Instagram and Ravelry. You can email me at meeshyfrazz@gmail.com. And I also have a blog, which is meeshyfrazzknits.com. Yeah, so thanks again so much for watching, and I will chat with you more next time. Bye.